Uh-oh.
Ow. He knew that was the only place he could walk up, slap an adult male, turn around, close his jacket, and walk back to his seat. Where else?
Steve Harvey has reportedly addressed Will Smith 2 months after the infamous incident at the Oscars, where Smith walked onto the stage and slapped comedian and host Chris Rock. Now that the situation has settled, more celebrities are speaking out and sharing their thoughts on what happened. Many have openly criticized Will Smith for his impulsive and inappropriate actions.
I'm just here to say that striking another human being is wrong.
Chris Rock is also facing criticism for deliberately provoking the situation.
First of all, I seen a man stand up for his wife, which we don't see that much anymore. That made me have hope.
Jada Smith's role in the entire incident is also being viewed with suspicion, and many believe there are valid reasons behind that perception. So, how exactly is Steve Harvey reacting to all of this? And what does the future look like for Will Smith? Social media users have been quick to call out the reactions of several celebrities who condemned Will Smith. One user commented, "I'm sorry, but Will Smith didn't shoot, stab, or beat Chris Rock to a bloody pulp. He gave him a single, rich man slap." Amy Schumer and Wanda Sykes saying they were traumatized by it just sounds ridiculous. At the moment, nearly every comedian around the world has spoken out against Will Smith's actions at the Oscars, criticizing his response to what was essentially just a joke. The overwhelming consensus is that the slap was not just a personal attack on Chris Rock, but an assault on freedom of speech and comedy as a whole. So far, not a single well-known comic has stood in support of Will Smith's behavior.
I'm good.
The consequences of Will Smith's actions at the Oscars are already becoming evident. Just last week, comedian Dave Chappelle was attacked on stage while performing, an alarming sign that this type of behavior might become more common. Some fear that Smith's public outburst has inspired others to believe they can take legal or even physical action against comedians simply for making jokes, completely disregarding the importance of free speech in the United States. Free speech is a foundational principle in America, and reacting violently against it is seen by many as one of the gravest offenses. During a public appearance at Georgia State University, veteran comedian Steve Harvey shared his thoughts on the infamous Oscar slap. Known for decades of stand-up experience, Harvey has dealt with hecklers throughout his career, but even he was shocked by Will Smith's impulsive and aggressive behavior. While speaking about the incident, Harvey made it clear that despite being a Christian, he wouldn't have responded as peacefully as some might expect. "It was a punk move," he said. "I'm a Christian, but I'm really undeveloped. I don't have high-level Christianity. On a scale from 1 to 10, I'm like a 2. You slap T.D. Jakes, he'll turn the other cheek. You slap me? If you sit back in your seat, Jada's gonna have to move out the way. That's the kind of Christian I am." Harvey also admitted he lost a lot of respect for Will after that moment. Social media users have been actively commenting on the situation. One person wrote, "It's okay for Steve Harvey to protect his family and call Will a punk, but if Will does the same to protect his wife, he gets condemned? Steve, you owe Will an apology. You would have slapped Chris too, if he joked about your wife." Despite slapping Chris Rock on live television, Will Smith seemed to be riding a career high just an hour later as he accepted the Best Actor Oscar in front of a standing ovation. During his emotional speech, Smith portrayed himself as a father who was simply protecting his family. The slap was in response to a joke Rock made about Jada Pinkett Smith's baldness, which was sensitive due to her recent disclosure about her struggle with alopecia. Backstage, Chris Rock clarified that he was fine and wouldn't escalate the situation further. It was reported that the Academy asked Smith to leave the ceremony, but he refused. He was later seen dancing at the Vanity Fair after-party, Oscar in hand, surrounded by supporters, as if everything had been forgiven. However, the backlash began to build quickly. Within days, public perception shifted. Prominent celebrities like Mark Hamill, Rob Reiner, Jim Carrey, and Judd Apatow criticized Smith, with some saying he should have been arrested. Even political figures like British Labour leader Keir Starmer chimed in with disapproval. More voices from that night began to speak out. Oscar-winning documentary producer Joseph Patel accused Smith of robbing him and his team of their moment in the spotlight. Acclaimed filmmaker Pedro Almodovar, who was seated close to the stage, said the whole experience left him feeling deeply rejected. Under fire for not acting sooner, the Academy escalated their inquiry into formal disciplinary proceedings. Hosts Amy Schumer and Wanda Sykes both said they were traumatized by the event. Schumer admitted she was still triggered, while Sykes described it as absolutely sickening. Oscars producer Will Packer told Good Morning America that the LAPD was prepared to arrest Smith for battery, but it was Chris Rock's refusal to press charges that kept that from happening. Packer also said Rock's calm response may have been why the Academy didn't remove Smith from the theater altogether. However, there are conflicting reports about whether Rock was ever asked for his input on removing Smith. In the aftermath, ticket prices for Chris Rock's comedy tour soared. Though fans were divided, some were disappointed he didn't mention the slap in his routine. Meanwhile, Will Smith has remained largely silent since issuing a public apology on Monday. His team is reportedly still figuring out the best way to respond moving forward. Several potential options are on the table. Smith could appear on a talk show to share his side of the story, though some believe that might downplay the seriousness of the situation. A more in-depth and emotional interview, perhaps with Oprah Winfrey, could allow Smith to share the personal struggles behind his actions. Smith has already laid out some of that context in his memoir Will, where he discusses the trauma of witnessing domestic violence as a child and his guilt over not protecting his mother. In his Oscar speech, he hinted that his outburst came from a place of emotional pain and personal history. The Smith family is no stranger to public vulnerability. They've often addressed sensitive and personal topics on Jada Pinkett Smith's show Red Table Talk. In a 2020 episode, Will and Jada openly discussed their separation and the rumors surrounding their marriage. The entire Smith family, including Will's sons Jaden and Trey, has been featured in reality-style programming similar to the Kardashians. However, restoring public trust won't be easy. A recent YouGov survey revealed that only a slim majority of Americans believe Smith was wrong for what he did. Still, Hollywood has a lot riding on Smith's recovery. He's been a bankable leading man for decades, with films grossing over $6.5 billion worldwide and a fan base that spans across all demographics. Interestingly, Will Smith's spiritual references during his speech found support from Christian media. Outlets like the Christian Broadcasting Network praised Smith's mention of Denzel Washington's advice, "At your highest moment, be careful. That's when the devil comes for you." For some, this was seen as a biblical and thoughtful reflection on the dangers of pride and success. So, what are your thoughts on the entire situation between Will Smith and Chris Rock? Let us know in the comments below.